Hey everybody, it's time to get stoned on Khantehnt!
Oh, Dr. Stone. I'm sorry.
But first, you should watch this ad.
No, first they should go to Subscribestar, $10 bonus episodes, then they should watch this ad. If we don't have one, well, you're just gonna have to live with that.
Khantehnt! 今日はこれから皆で夜通しのみ明かす婚礼の儀。はあ、そっか。じゃあ離婚。
So, Dr. Stone, I had thought I'd already seen this stretch of episodes. I might have only seen 11 because I distinctly remembered Suika regaining sight for the first time and the old guy joining as a glass blower.
𝘾𝙍𝘼𝙕𝙔 or whatever.
We'll talk about those two things first. Suika, turns out, has the fuzzy sickness that is just nearsightedness. I like the idea that because these guys are a primitive society, they would think it's like a much bigger deal than it is. And the way Senku puts it to her, like, look, and where I'm from, this is solved. Like, this is not a disease. It's nothing to be worried about. Nobody even gives a fuck. So he makes her some glasses, and when she sees the world for the first time, it's a beautiful moment. I have to assume the manga looked even better.
Yeah. I noticed that the opening, Suika gets her little moment in the opening. It's her in a field of sunflowers, clearly in reference to this moment when the first thing she sees crystal clearly is sunflowers, and it's pretty beautiful. Oh, then again, I suppose she could have seen them close up if she's nearsighted.
So sunflowers and her good-looking friends, as she tells
Oh yeah, right.
You guys are surprisingly decent. And then, but the person who has to then make them some proper glass shit, because they're trying to make glass and it's an embarrassing failure. And then Senku mentions a craftsman, and it just so happens this village has a, much like the dwarves in Slime Isekai, a world-class master dude who's just waiting to be put to use by the genius of Science Man.
Well, first of all, he's kidnapped.
Well,
he's tied up and dragged out of the village.
But the second that he's like,
into it, though.
The way Senku, I love the way Senku gets him on his side, which is by showing him them doing it badly. He just like makes them watch them try to blow glass. He's like, let me blow that glass.
I love that idea. He's a guy who's been a craftsman for 50 years. So like the shields that we've seen Kinro and Kohaku and others use, like they've been made by him, and they're quality materials, just made with like the simplistic stuff they have available to him. So when showing him this like new material he conjured from the earth of glass and all the shit you can do with it, and he's like, what are these weird see-through rocks? What the fuck is this? It appeals to his craftsman instincts, which I think is, while it's presented in a simplified way, I think is a very real phenomenon. And I not only do I love that they've got a craftsman who can help them make all the beakers. Now they can make scientific equipment. Oh my God! It's that 𝘾𝙍𝘼 or 𝘾𝙍𝘼, whatever his name is so, he's like them. He loves getting his hands dirty and making shit and doing things, and he feels so much pride in his work. He's just in the vein of Senku and Chrome and even people like Kohaku who are hard-ass workers. He is one of them, and he is, there's a line that they're like, oh, we've got like 7 members of the Kingdom of Science. He's like, why are you including me? I didn't, but you're one of us now. It's too late. You're on our team now.
That sort of positivity from this show is very much like my aesthetic. I talked about how Attack on Titan is so negative about humanity, and like it's just, it always assumes people will make bad and bleak decisions. And like, I always get frustrated with a lot of stuff where a character from the future goes back in time and everyone's like terrified of their technology or like worships it or something like that. But here, I think it's the much more reasonable idea that like if you showed someone the stuff, they'd just be excited and want to use it.
The positivity is super infectious. And that's why I love Senku so much. And furthermore, what I also love about Senku as a character is that while he is such a good person who has the best interest of like all of mankind in his disposal. Okay, I suppose to someone like Tsukasa, they'd argue that no, Senku is wrong and he's going to lead to the downfall of humanity by, no, we need to revive the good people. Okay, whatever. He's got a very clear, pure mind, but he presents himself and he achieves it through slimy, underhanded tactics for the greater good, and I fucking love that aesthetic. That's why Senku is like so fucking great of a character to me, that him and Chrome, they're just like, why the fuck would I care about the rules if they're in my way of getting to the place I need to get to?
He's a bit like Rick from Rick and Morty, but not an asshole.
Well, yeah, because I was going to say, I think that order has some value, not zero value. And I mean, I'm sure Senku would agree. But it's just that when presented with an opportunity to just hedge the odds in his favor, Senku will do everything in his power to do so in a totally ridiculous way.
I do like the way that he kind of points out the scummy things he's doing. That's another thing I like to do, is like do something bad and then tell you that I did it so that we can all, like, just so you know, I knew you wouldn't want me to do this, but I've already done it. Now let's move forward.
Well, what that does,
that's very Senku.
It clears the air of any duplicity or bad vibes or whatever, and that's why it's just so easy to think of Senku as such a great guy. Even sure, he'll literally cheat at a game to get you on his team, but once you're on his team, you're like, this is great, I love this guy. So what's even the big deal? It's not like he's trying to make you do anything you didn't want to do already. So it's a little manipulative, but just it all works out great. Maybe it's a little naive to think that things would always go this way, but I just love watching the man work.
There's a moment where, when 𝘾𝙍𝘼 is practicing for the fight, he's stabbing this target, and he's like, yeah, I'm practicing for the weak point, his testicles, right?
Yeah.
And Kohaku's like, yeah, I mean, that is his weak point for sure.
Naruhodo.
So then, episodes later, when it comes time for Senku to get into a fight, he of course goes straight for the testicles, and the village elder says of this, that guy's really smart.
Yeah, yeah. That's true. You love seeing it. Okay, so after we got to the point where we got glass, and so the next episode 12, they're now using glass to get the next thing they need on their roadmap to getting the antibiotic, to healing Ruri, to securing more funding and expanding the Kingdom of Village, all for the greater goal of being able to resist Tsukasa. Okay, cool. So the next step on that journey is this episode about going to sulfuric acid lake. Yes. And that episode was fucking awesome. First of all, in the way that they finally make the precious silver spear that Ginro's been wanting so much, but actually it's just for their own selfish purposes, because whatever it is, sulfur, mercury, whatever the fuck's on the tip of that.
It seems that silver oxidizes when it comes into contact with sulfur, so it gives them a little bit of warning before they're gonna die.
Exactly. Really, this episode is an adventure quest to go to what they call the most dangerous part of assembling this whole thing. And of course, a little part of me says it sure is convenient that within 1 day's walk there's a sulfuric acid pond. But okay,
well, it looks awesome. It's this cool blue lake.
Yeah,
shit.
yeah.
I don't know if that's what sulfur lakes look like in real life. It looks cool in anime, and the way they introduced the idea of it, that this, according to Senku, is a true story, so I'm going to believe it, about a guy at a site who bent down to tie his shoes and just instantly died because
he was just that far enough below the level where the cloud sits because it's heavier than air, and that was it. All his friends and family watched him die.
So they make it very clear to us that if you inhale or touch the stuff at all, you are just going to die immediately. So let's make some gas masks. So they make some gas masks, and then 𝘾𝙍𝘼 is like, I'm gonna come with you because I don't want you to go alone on this dangerous mission. There's gotta be another guy. But Ginro, meanwhile, is afraid, and he stays behind, but he gets convinced to go out, and but with very happy timing, Ginro gets another mask on and runs out to help those guys right before 𝘾𝙍𝘼 is about to fall to his fucking death in a vat of acid.
What an amazing time situation, and they all become good buddies. Yeah. Let's talk quickly about the scene where 𝘾𝙍𝘼 and Senku are discussing who should go and who should stay. Because this is one of those things where shonen values are clashing with what actually makes sense given the circumstances. They're doing the classic shonen thing of how this is my responsibility, I've got the best likelihood of survival. Senku is willing to put himself, you described how deadly this situation is. Senku's like, hey, I will go and I'll do it because I know I'll have a higher chance of survival, even though it's such a massive chance of dying, and Senku is the most important man on the planet. And yes, he says, okay, I'm gonna teach you, 𝘾𝙍𝘼, tonight, everything you need to know to rebuild civilization. There's no fucking way. Senku always talks about hard work and effort and time. There's no way you could teach 𝘾𝙍𝘼 in 1 night. Maybe if you gave him a year. That's theoretically possible, everything you would need to know. There's no fucking way that 𝘾𝙍𝘼 was going to learn everything important there. So Senku was willing to jeopardize the entire operation for the sake of feel-good shonen values of do things myself and not put other people at risk, even though ultimately their genius plan is we'll have 𝘾𝙍𝘼 and Senku go. Our 2 scientists will put their lives in danger when they should have just sent Kinro and Ginro, because they're expendable, god damn it, they're fucking expendable.
Yeah, and clearly 2 people wasn't enough anyways, because
No, it wasn't.
if Ginro hadn't showed up, he would be dead, so.
Why not send the people who are the most physically adept, which are Kinro and Ginro, or Kohaku, theoretically. They're all a much better choice, if you ask me.
We had to have an exciting scene where someone almost dies in acid in order to keep this, a exciting shonen series, and not just guys collecting materials.
Chrome even says what I was thinking. Chrome does have the thing where he's like, hey, Senku, we gotta think about this logically. You are more important than any of us. Your knowledge is so fucking valuable, we can't risk it. But no, I will risk it. I must, because whatever.
Still a good and fun scene, even though it's dumb as fuck.
I agree.
Doesn't matter.
But when you got a science show where logic and conniving and playing the odds are there, I'm going to keep mentioning things like this when I see them, so brace for it.
Oh, then we get this great, brilliant mind connections being made because we got that chart that we've been following of all the arrows, and once we have the acid, everything just starts falling in place one after another. We just see everything getting knocked out, and we're getting really close, and then it just so happens, he's like, hey, all we need is alcohol. And they're like, well, if you win the big tournament, they'll give you as much alcohol as you can possibly want. So let's go fight the big tournament.
Yep.
Hey!
Which perfectly coincides with the other things they wanted to do of get everyone on their team, get access to Ruri so they can give her the cure-all anyway. So it all hinges on the tournament. So that's what we're going to spend the next 3 episodes doing. And so we do, which leads up to the grand bout or whatever it is, the second time they're having it now because Kohaku won the first time. And first up, we sure hope that the thing is structured in such a way that benefits our team, because if any of us win, we basically have what we need, and we'll be able to get all the good things as a result of winning this. Oh, but tragically, it's Kinro, our best, strongest guy, up against Magma, the guy who's the worst guy in the first round, god damn it. Oh, isn't that just the way? And I mean, as we've been given hints up to this point, it looks like Kinro is having some tough time because, oh my god, he didn't want to tell anyone, but he has the fuzzy sickness too, you guys. Fuck!
So I thought this was a pretty well executed mini tournament arc in that, like, they start you off with, like, up until now, Kinro is our best hope for defeating Magma.
Right.
So, like, going into this fight, I didn't even necessarily think that he would lose just because of the structure of the tournament. Yeah. Just like, it was hard to say how much the tournament was going to matter in the end. But, like, because of the fact that he is clearly disadvantaged at the start, he gets thrown. There's like some dumb shit about why Suika was kidnapped so that they could get Kohaku out of there so that she won't have to be able to fight. Suika comes back. She realizes just through looking at him, like, oh, he must have fuzzy sickness too. Gives him the glasses, and he puts up a good fight against Magma, but Magma fucking underhanded, like, basically, like, claims he's lost and then, like, clubs him over the back of the head while his back's turned.
And look, Kinro looked like he was stronger and would just win once he had his sight restored.
He says to him, like, if not for me having the fuzzy sickness, I would have been kicking your ass up and down every day.
Right,
like,
that's right.
I'm just better than you. I just can't see. But he's not conniving enough, and that's why he gets his ass beat. So, yeah, again, I thought it was a well-done way to give Kinro, like, a cool fight, a good moment, like, make him a badass, but still lose and still have to continue the tournament.
I agree.
And then after that moment, it's really like, well, fuck, I don't know who could beat this guy or how at this point.
Yep.
It's pretty up in the air. Kohaku can't fight. Ginro, there's a great moment where they do beat Magma, and then it's Senku versus Senku versus Ginro.
Right, yeah.
And Ginro, all he has to do is, like, wait, is it Senku who fights him? It's that he realizes that whoever wins is going to marry Ruri.
Yeah.
And so he's like, oh, that means, like, I could win, and then I'll be chief, and I'll get all the alcohol and babes and everything. And everyone's like, oh no. Like, there's this moment where it just kind of cuts to all the other villagers' faces as they realize that he is actually the strongest person still fighting and could win, and they're all horrified.
Because
like,
he's not a good guy, and he doesn't even have, like, altruistic desires like Senku does.
I mean, he's now abandoned his team. It is just going to the other side.
He's trying to kill Senku at this very moment. Yeah, that was all funny. I don't know, just there's a lot of fighting stuff that's fine there, but the most important moments that we haven't already touched on was, so the second fight with Magma. Now that Kinro has worn down Magma somewhat, It's now Chrome versus Magma. That's what it comes down to. And Chrome, as we've mentioned, is the best character unequivocally in Dr. Stone, at least in my opinion. And now it's up to Chrome, who is not physically strong, but is a sciencer, just like Senku, to find a way to win. Now, the particular way that this is done is not what you would think. The name of this episode is Master of Flame. I was expecting something very different than what we actually got. Because what we get is kind of the most nonsensical, retarded possible way to utilize this Master of Flame motif.
So Crom the battle starts, he's instantly getting his ass beat.
Of course.
He's getting brutalized, it's bad, everybody's sad, and then like Senku's like, what is he doing? And he realizes that he's trying to keep Magma in a position where this lens is
Suika's one of her broken lenses from her helmet.
Because of the fact that he had previously seen Senku using glass to like redirect sunlight. Senku's like, oh, he must be trying to burn Magma's fucking shit with that lens, but little does he know it's the wrong type of lens.
It's concave, not convex, or whatever it is.
Dumb caveman. So he screams at him like, hey, retard, you don't know what you're doing. And he's like, I think I know a little about science myself. Actually, I was getting my ass kicked so that I would...
On purpose! So that strategy all along!
So that I would sweat and cry into the lens.
To make it go from convex, I think, to concave.
And thus, it will now be able...
And that's not all. And that's not even close to all. No. Because a rippling surface of the water, even if you're trying to... Because he's holding on the end of his spear. That would not be enough to focus the light long enough on Magma's clothing to start a fire. So we need this retarded plot of they have to immobilize Magma, right? How do we immobilize Magma for at least 60 fucking seconds? Gen shows up out of nowhere, because we've established you're allowed to heckle and yell at people as long as you're not literally cheating. He does a fake mentalist, non-existent curse to say, if you move, I will explode your heart. And I'm either bullshitting you, or I'm either fucking, it's either real and it'll cheat and you'll be disqualified, but you'll die, or just hold in place and I'm just giving you shit. So, just playing the odds. Magma's like, okay, I guess I'll just hold in place then and not move until the spell wears off. So this is how Magma is coerced to literally not move. But then on the other side, Chrome is holding the helmet on the spear, pretending to be immobilized with fear. And he has to have his own little mini arc of like, I must focus my power to not shake my arm because the water must be perfectly still. So I'll go to my Zen happy place. And only through all these factors happening at the same time is he able to fucking create the focus lens through the thing over 60 seconds of prolonged holding in place to make a fire spread in Magma so he wins.
The moment when Senku says he'd have to hold it in place for at least 60 seconds, I remember thinking like, oh, that sounds like kind of a long time for me to have to watch him hold this in place. Yeah. It's about 3 minutes that he stands, like they say 60 seconds. It's about 3 or 4 minutes of screen time of him standing there holding his spear thinking. It was a little much.
It was a little much, and this plan is utterly... First of all, I don't believe that Chrome could just deduce that putting water on the surface of a fucking lens would alter the way the beam is focused. Chrome is not Senku. He doesn't have a world of experience. He's a fucking caveman who's learning this shit for the first time. I'm not saying he's stupid. He's my favorite fucking character. But...
I've done some science, Nate.
I think I've done a little science in my day. You literally just learned that this exists like yesterday. Okay, all right. It's just, who would have thought of that?
Well, the fact that, not to mention, he gets it wet through his sweat and tears. Like, tears are not very large, you know? So needs of sweat. How much sweat and tears do you need before it changes the surface of the thing is what I'm trying to
What if a drop of blood had fallen in as he's profusely bleeding out of his orifice? That would have ruined
How did he get only the, like, non-red liquid in there?
This is the worst thing that the show can do, and it's Redditify its science stuff. And it's making like, whoa, science is so cool. You can do this amazing stuff. You need to keep it believable. You need to keep it reasonable in the expectations of what a character can physically do or what they would like rationally deduce. And this, at a minimum, strains that. The fact that Magma wouldn't move and would be like, okay, I guess I'll literally hold still for over 60 fucking seconds. No one would do that under any circumstances.
It's pretty ridiculous.
But Gen's such a good mentalist, bro. You don't know how good a mentalist this guy is.
Just the scene where he says, like, my tears are what I use. Like, I burst out laughing so fucking hard.
I remember first seeing this, like, just literally have a flint and steel and just like make some sparks. We didn't need this whole, oh my God, brain blast idea. What if Chrome had just smuggled in some flint and steel?
I really think they were just trying to make the absolute most out of the glasses thing.
I agree. It was too much.
Yeah, it was a little much.
They hit their peak with Kinro getting his vision. That was it. We should have stopped there. This was excessive. Now, a better use for it was it gets another use later when Senku uses it as a lever to hit Ginro in the nuts really, really hard. That should have been the capstone use as like a joke finale to the little helmet arc. This one, I just think this was a big fucking eye roller.
Well, in any case, Senku wins, and he gets his alcohol and says, fuck
Wait, step back 1 second and just address how we have to address, because my boy Chrome deserves respect. That he is in love with Ruri. They're childhood friends. His whole sciencer thing was to save Ruri. And Ruri says like, oh, I'll marry anyone, but we know that they love each other and that they want to be together at least a little bit. And so it's like, oh, Chrome, by fighting and scraping and being a genius science who was on reddit.com getting massive upvotes at this very moment, he earned his victory over Magma. Amazing. And Senku's just like, my boy Chrome, I'm just gonna step aside and let you become science chief and impregnate your wide-hipped bitch. She's got the widest hips in the game, that Ruri girl. But no, he falls asleep, and so Senku, by default, becomes the chief and wins. Congrats.
And is instantly considered married to Ruri by everyone.
There's no ceremony.
They start calling her his wife right then and there. But then he just says, he gets the alcohol, hears the situation, and is like, I don't remember what they say to him that he has to do, but he's like, oh yeah, because
Come drink with us all night or something,
like Ruri's like literally dying, and he's like, she's going to die in like 5 seconds if I don't make this drug, and they're like, no, come drink, and he's like, fuck that, I'm divorced.
Oh God.
And he runs off.
The divorce statistics have just spiked massively in Ishigami Village.
Yeah, she said she was the first divorced priestess.
Yeah, that's right. Well, short-lived thing, but of course the joke and the fun thing is like, now Chrome can get with Ruri. She's available again, boys.
So they have a big make drug and then feed her drug, and now they made a point to frame it like she was sucking cock as much as possible. I don't know if you saw the way he like okay, the shot is like she's on her knees like looking up, like tongue open, and he like pours it into her mouth, this like white fluid.
It's one of those things.
It's a very erotic shot.
It's like all those like To Love Ru animations that are like popsicle being thrust like into mouth with shit everywhere.
It was exactly like that.
Well, it was slightly more exaggerated in To Love Ru, but nonetheless, yes, they're into that for some reason, like feeding people things.
I wonder why.
She could easily do it herself. Okay, all right, whatever. Anyway, the sulfa drug is made. Oh my God, we made the fucking drug. We gave it to Ruri, and then smash cut, maybe a couple days pass or whatever. There's a great scene where they're afraid that this particular drug won't be the cure for this particular disease, because we don't know exactly what disease it is. And so they run through the symptoms, they see like, oh, what's going wrong? I forget exactly how they deduce it, but they find out that it is in fact pneumonia. Oh, because he dissects rats and stuff to deduce what's going on with animals around here. Pneumonia, and the sulfa drug is a fucking bang-on cure for pneumonia, baby. So we've got it. Ruri is fucking healed. We saved the priestess.
I do think it's really funny. There's a scene where like so Ruri, like, he gives her the drug, and then she's like dying even harder, it seems. And everybody's like suspicious. What did you give her? It's making her die even harder.
That's a time when it's totally normal to be suspicious of this outsider who knows what he gave her.
But the way that he resolves that is he kind of just like looks at her and he's like, nah, you know what? It is working, and then he does this like epic victory pose where he's like, "We won, guys!" And it's like, maybe save that for after she gets out of bed, or like, because everybody still thinks she's dying, and he doesn't change anything about her situation. He just walks in and it's like, "Nah, clinched it."
But the soundtrack changes in the background, so we know that it's good news. So it's over. The fight is won.
I just thought it was funny that like there was no reason anyone else in the room should be as convinced as he is when he just like full poses victory. Like, I'm just picturing being one of the other people in the room, like what? Could you explain
if it was a
further
cure,
to me, please?
It was possible she was already over the hill and was still gonna die anyway. That would be embarrassing if that still happened anyway. Luckily, no. And in fact, in a couple days, she's off zipping and zooming around just like Kohaku, because oh my god.
Pneumonia, it was clever to pick a disease that in our world doesn't sound that bad.
Yeah,
we know
yeah.
people beat all the time, especially
And
her
this is
age,
why,
you know.
this is one of the things I love. This is what, like, Tsukasa and people like this. I've interacted with people like this in real life. They're like, hey man, we should go back to nature. And there's of course an argument for that, but like, then pneumonia will start killing people again. And I don't think that's an ideal situation. Surely there's some middle ground to be found here. And so like, Tsukasa's empire is gonna be filled with like, you know, disease and animal attacks and all kinds of crazy shit. So, technology kind of good.
Did anything else happen after they healed Ruri here? I feel like that was the end of these episodes.
Yeah, that's pretty much the end, except for one final little stinger moment we get. We've talked about like Ruri's the priestess. She has interesting stories that are informing things. The final thing we know, and I remember reading this in the manga and being like, Nani? Yes. Was her saying, now Senku, she said, this was implied before, Senku, I think I know you. Is your last name Ishigami? Because the name of this village that I said last episode, but is actually revealed here, is Ishigami Village, and you're Senku Ishigami. What does it mean?
Oh my god! Someone
we'll find out
clearly
next
knew
time.
about him who was involved in the starting of this village, it seems like.
And I mean, let's just take a second to look back at the facts. It's been almost 4,000 years since all of humanity was frozen. We don't know where these humans came from. As far as we know, Senku's the first person to break out of, you know, stone captivity due to, actually, you know what? I think it was during these episodes, or maybe it was the last one. I appreciate it, because I forgot this. It's addressed that Senku was thinking about, okay, why did I wake up? And we know the whole thing about the bat droppings and the night hall or whatever it is, but there was something special about Senku and Taiju that woke them up. And it appears to have something to do with the fact that they didn't need the alcohol component that the other people did, because they were conscious and thinking the whole time. So those two were in fact quite special, because Senku didn't even have the idea to make alcohol with grapes. That was Taiju's idea after he woke up. So, I mean, I will be looking back to that. I hope that they talk more about that in the future, like your brain produces alcohol or whatever the fuck it is. But in any case, this is quite a fucking mystery as to what is going on in this village, who is it involved with, and why is that the same name as Senku. And I know what happens, and I can tell you this, it's cool.
I'm just excited to be at the end of this particular arc, not because it's bad or anything, but because I hadn't seen past this yet.
Right,
so,
right.
like, it's just been... Like, I knew he was going to go in the village, there's going to be a tournament, they were going to cure the girl. I have no idea what happens next.
Fucking our cameraman over here is shaking his fat head about
Victor
this shit.
doesn't like
No,
where
fuck
the show
you,
goes,
Victor.
I think.
No.
Victor
It's
doesn't
good.
like the direction of Dr. Stone.
I agree, there are massive cliches that you can roll your eyes about, but nothing worse than the fucking eye lens fire focus thing from the Fire Master.
Victor's shaking his head, so I'm going to learn.
We'll find out. One of us is right and the other's wrong. Who's
Yeah.
it going to be?
I guess I get to decide.
You get to decide.
Well, you guys can decide with us when we do that. You've already subscribed, so now you should subscribe star, $10 a month, and you get bonus episodes. We're going to do one on Gundam 0080 for Christmas.
Yeah,
Make sure
baby.
you watch it, because it's the best Christmas special out there.
Indeed.
And also send us a Khantehnt clip for the ending here.
Khantehnt. That's it, everybody. We'll see you next time on another big ol' episode. Bye-bye.